Welcome back to another episode of the Rabbit Hole Podcast with myself, Daniel Horton, and my good friend and brother, Chris Hunter. Chris, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. What's going on with you today, dog? You good?
Good, man. Here to discuss a myriad of sports topics. Well, we will discuss at length and try to look at them from a different angle and, in a sense, go down the rabbit hole. So, what we got today?
What we got, man? We got some good stuff. But before we get into the topics, man, I want to just take us a curveball right now, man. I was riding in the car with my wife, and I think we get into that age, man, where you listen to the radio, and none of the songs sound like something that you'll listen to. Like, what are you listening to right now? She's like, what's the R&B artist that I can sing to right now? It's like, is this the stuff the kids listening to? Some Sexy Red came on, and it was the new one with Drake. It was like, we go together. We go together. He's like, what is this what the kids listening to? Are we at that age right now where it's like, you know, how your mom used to be like, what is y'all listening to on the radio? What is this stuff? The back in my day, the music was better type stuff. So what you listening to on the radio right now, of current artists?
Man, I ain't gonna lie to you. We're definitely at that age, but we're still young enough to engage in the foolishness.
Yeah,
so I'm a big Boss Man D-Lo fan as far as the rap scene goes. Me and Jazz, we get in the car and like when I'm picking her up and dropping her off from school, man, we on the Boss Man D-Lo heavy. And then from R&B perspective, man, you're right. It's not. Like it's their R&B. They should just change the name. Now, there's no more rhythm and blues. It's just they should call it B&G. It's just bumping and grinding now.
Hey, no, you know what? And everybody's singing now. The rappers got the auto tune, and everybody, trying to sing. I mean, you got a couple people. I would what you call like Tyler, and people like that R&B. What you call? I mean, you got Summer Walker. You got, as far as dudes, I mean, probably dudes like October London. You know, he really old school. Yeah, but most of, Roddy Rich, is Roddy Rich R&B?
No, I don't listen to Roddy
That's
Rich.
More hip-hop?
That's one of them rapper singers. He's
I get that.
And I don't want to, like, I'm not going to bag on Roddy Rich because he got a couple songs that I do like. But most of these, like, it just seems like, you remember when we was coming up, and there'd be a new artist of our generation, and parents be like, they can't sing, or they not as talented as the people from our generation.
That's where we at.
That's where we at with. I'm looking like, damn, like, is it really? I'll be wanting to say it, but I'm like, that's the same thing my mom and dad say to me, but it's the truth. Like, these people are not as talented as the people we came up listening to. And they're not as talented as the generation before them. Like, can you imagine Aretha Franklin's vocals over today's?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, all the tracks and the synthesizer and looping it and blending it together. No, it's crazy, man. No, ain't no more. You don't have no more guy group. You don't have you don't have your Jagged Edges, your 112s. You just don't have that type of stuff no more where you can like really do just harmonize and sing about love and this and that and I need a girl. And let's get married. No, it's wild. We were just, going down that rabbit hole this morning talking about the stuff that's on the radio. I was like, yeah, I'm still in tune with it because, I be in the gyms with the young guys working out and stuff, and they listen to this stuff. So you hear it. But when you think about it, it's like, dang, I'm just hearing Sexy Red talking about, we go together. We go together.
Who else?
Wow.
I try to listen to Chris Brown a little bit, but he's like, because, we kind of come up with him.
Yes,
like, he's been in the industry for so long.
He's a timeless artist. He's one of them dudes like on the tier of like a Michael Jackson, a Usher, as far as like his music is gonna be timeless because he's just that talented. Yeah. So for sure, Chris Brown. But like you say, he came up with us when we were in, in college. That's when he was coming up. So it's wild though. When you think it's a few people out there I like, but for the most part, it's some wild music going on out here.
Right now. It's definitely the radio is almost unplayable these days. So I play more XM radio and my personal. Whether I don't know what you have, but I have Tidal still. So
Tidal, that's still going. Come on, man. Apple Music, man. I'm loyal to my Apple Music.
See, I'm a cybersecurity professional. I'll tell you about Apple when we get off here. They might be
they might be listening. Oh, my bad. let me cut my phone off real quick. They probably. I'll get an ad later about Apple Music, and I already got it.
Some cookies.
All right, man. Well, let's get into it, man. First topic is what? Bronny James, man. I was watching the game last night, preseason with, the Warriors and the Lakers, and just want to get your thoughts on Bronny James, how he projects. Why do you think he's kind of playing the way he's playing? And we're just going to, dive into it a little bit about him, man. What's your thoughts on Bronny and his Lakers situation right now?
So I'll preface this by saying when he was coming out of high school, I said that he didn't deserve to make the McDonald's game. But if I was the head coach at Michigan, I would have still recruited him hard and I would want him in my program because not because of his last name, not because of the fanfare, but because of his actual game. I think if he would have came to Michigan, if he would have been in the program, like, not even just had heart issues at the program he was in, he could develop and become something eventually. So with that being said, his what belongs in college. Like, it is obvious, right? You're watching them like go out there and play against like guys who were, who've been at the end of the bench for most of their careers in the preseason. So that's how it kind of goes, right?
Yeah.
In the summer, you play against guys who are trying to make the NBA, have never made the NBA. The undrafted free agents, the overseas guys, the guys who just brought in for summer league training camp to give them a shot, see if they can make it. Or some of the guys just to fill out the roster for summer league. So he played against those guys. He struggled for the most part. Now in preseason, he's playing against real NBA guys, but a lot of them are end of the bench guys by the time he comes in the game, and he's looking even worse. So now once the regular season starts, and if he gets in the game, he's going to be playing against rotation guys. Like, come on, man. Like, this kid is not ready. He's been set up. He's been put in a impossible position no matter what his last name is, no matter what his skill set is. Right now, he's not ready for that level of basketball. Not saying that he won't ever be at that level, but this is a tough way to cut your teeth as a pro, right? These are going to be scars and wounds that he's going to have to heal from in order to become a good player that he normally wouldn't have to go through if he was in college this year as a sophomore, being allowed to develop and progress as a basketball player under that model and under that structure. So he's going to have, I hope he's tough, because we, how this basketball, we just see a lot of guys get drafted out of high school and playing. So
I mean, he let's keep it 100. He's trash right now. Let's keep it 100. He's a trash basketball player, and that's not saying anything. I don't want to personally say anything against him as a person, but as a basketball player right now, he's trash all the way around. And I think when I'm looking at him, I think he doesn't have the time on task and the reps to be good. But it's also a mentality. Like, when I look at his eyes, I don't see it in his eyes as he's trying to compete and do something out there. It feels like, to me, he's going through the motions because, my dad wanted me to play together in the NBA. We had the opportunity to do it. We're doing it. But is it really deep down in his core that he wants to go out there and compete? When I look at the game, like, he's not sprinting hard. He's not running hard in transition. He's not doing anything aggressive and assertive enough to say, I'm trying to get it out here. It's really like he's out there because he has to be out there. But he's not showing me anything like he wants to show people that he's a good player. So I don't know if it's, he's still kind of recovering mentally from, the health scare that he had at USC. And let's not take that any lightly, because that was a major thing that he was able to overcome. So maybe he's not fully willing to push himself to those limits yet physically. And it's a block there. And then B, it just looks like he does not want to compete at the level you need to compete. You can tell in somebody's eyes if they compete. I think from his athleticism and what I've seen, at least from these workout videos, he has enough skill set to at least look like I'm trying to do something out there and not kind of just be floating up and down and running 3-point line to 3-point line and staying out the way. And when I have an opportunity to make a play. I'm looking to pass it all the time. Like, no, you got to go get it. You got to show some people some stuff, and it's going to be tough for them. I mean, they're going to do the ceremonial regular season first couple of games. They're going to get out there on the court and they're going to play together, and it's going to be on Sports Center and all of that. And then they're going to ease them on into the G League. But I don't think the G League is going to be any easier for his psyche, because you got dudes really down there hungry trying to get it, and they trying to get your spot, and they don't think you deserve your spot. I mean, and it's a dude on the team right now, Quincy Olivari, who's been playing very, very well, who probably should deserve an opportunity to maybe get, a two-way, a roster spot, but don't know how much room they would have on the Lakers because of, some of the moves they made. But he just needs to come with a different mentality. To me, it looks like he don't want to really be there. His heart is not all the way into it.
No, I agree with that. I think a lot of the stuff you see is, like you said, like what previous, like, you get in those situations that you got to dig down. You got to, pull from previous experience. What is he pulling from? High school basketball, like that.
Like that, baby, pulling from the Peach Jam.
Like, oh yeah, I remember I was at the Peach Jam and we came, and I'm like, nah, man, he just, I don't know, he hasn't played enough basketball. So
for sure.
I'm hesitant to say that he won't be good in 3, 4, 5 years, however. But
yeah, I don't think that either.
Go ahead.
I think he has the opportunity to be good, but he's in a, like you say, he's in a precarious situation right now because he's not ready. And he probably should still be in college and developing that way. So he's going to have to really kind of get it out the mud and have a mentality shift. Because like I said, I think it's there. The athleticism is there. When you see the workouts, he's been working with pros and skill trainers and all that stuff since he was little. So he has the tool set within him. So something's got to click mentally where he brings it out of him and he's playing a little bit more freer, more confident, more aggressive. So hopefully, that his G League stint will help build some of that, and he can grow. Because I want to see him be successful. I think it'll be a cool story if he's actually, good enough to be a rotation player and stuff like that, which he has the physical tools to do it. But right now, he just looks uninterested and uninspired to go out there and compete at the level he needs to compete. Make some mistakes out of aggression, not omission.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, go out there, try to go get it. And I just don't see it. When I look in his eyes and he ain't got that killer in his eyes right now.
He's a workout warrior right now. Right?
No, for sure.
Like he's one of those kids, like you say, he's grown up in like pro workouts. You know what I mean? So he's gonna look. He knows how to look the part. He knows how to train and work as a pro. So that's what, like you said, that's what gives you confidence. But we forget about the other aspect of it. Like his dad didn't become who he is doing pro workouts at that age. He became who he is because of his upbringing, his situation. So this is a kid who's basically grown up as a billionaire with all all the conditions being perfect for him to get up and go to the gym and do what he needed to do to be a basketball player. So, like, I guess in a short way to put it, them cones don't move. I mean,
no, them cones don't move. When you in there with Chris Brickley and all that stuff, he ain't really contesting your shot. He he giving you a fake contest. His fake is making you feel good. You know what I'm saying? It ain't that full bump. And that's what you see, a lot nowadays with kids in general. Like, they got all the bag work and can do all the moves and stuff. But like against good defense, that stuff doesn't work the same.
Yeah.
So the higher level you goes up when dudes bigger, stronger, faster, and you got good individual and good team defense. Now you got to put it together and be a basketball player. You got to know how to play. You got to know how to cut. You got to know how to move. You got to know how to play off the closeout. Simple stuff that makes the game simple for you. But, I think he can do it, but it needs to be a mentality shift. I just see a dude who's kind of like, in every sense of the word, coasting a little bit. It ain't no, my spot's secured, I'm straight. But it ain't nothing behind him to say, I'm trying to prove something right now to everybody. So I think it's going to get to a point where he's going to feel like, no, F this. I'm about to prove it to everybody that I can hoop. And I think that'll help him. I don't think the switch will flip and he'll be a great player right away, but it'll help him.
Yes. Does he know if he can hoop or not?
Because who has he hooped against to prove that to himself?
Does he know
Peach Jam, dog. Peach Jam.
I'm about to say he averaged 14 points a game in high school. Like, does he know if he can hoop or not?
Yeah.
like I said, like I'm basing my projections based on watching him work out, watching him move, and watching him get off the floor, and watching watching his shooting form and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's why I think that's what everybody's basing it on.
That's real.
But,
that's real.
Like, how many second team all district players do you know that actually got to these in high school?
In high school, and then in the league a year later, 10 months later after being, I mean it typically don't happen that way. So, but I mean the spectacle is the spectacle. They're gonna get the photos and the videos of him playing together in the NBA with his dad, which is great. And LeBron has earned the opportunity to pave the way for that to happen. But I just want to see this dude, like, now that you got that opportunity, like, go after it.
Let's go get it. Yeah,
let's go get it, man. People be clamoring for this, Lord. They left everything for this opportunity. So let's go get it. Don't be out there with this glazed look in your eye like you kind of shook. Like, let's go get it. Because if it don't work, you're gonna be straight anyway.
You gonna get another opportunity. Because your dad gonna own the team soon. So you're gonna get another opportunity. So just go hey,
let's go get it.
Yeah, go
blow
get
it out.
Yeah.
Pause. Blow it out.
Yes, sir.
Man.
Yeah, buddy.
Nah, that's wild. But anyway, man, let's move away from the NBA a little bit. And let's get into some NCAA, man. It's been a lot of stuff happening over the past week or so, with a lot of different things coming down. We got cases being won. We got, national letter of intent being no more. We got new NIL stuff going on. But we want to first talk about, your thoughts about the NLI, which is the national letter of intent, and that no longer being a requirement for NCAA for folks to be able to sign that, to have that binding agreement for athletes to go to college, man. So what are your thoughts about just that ending, and what do you think are the consequences or maybe benefits of no more NLI, and what's going to come from it as far as like another, contract? What's going to be in place of the NLI moving forward, in your opinion?
What we all know has been coming since the original announcement of NIL and players being able to profit off their name, image, and likeness. Like, it's gonna eventually be contracts, full-fledged contracts. Like, that's they're probably gonna take, just like because it's the NCAA and they're slow to do everything. It's just gonna hit every conceivable stage you could think of between players playing for free and full-out contracts, right? Name, image, and likeness. Now there's no blah blah. Now they're gonna hit every little until they finally get to where, instead of just ripping the Band-Aid and going straight to, okay, these guys ladies and gentlemen are pay-for-play athletes. They're just happen to, part of the deal is that they go to school. They're under contract, basically. Yeah. That's what a national letter of intent. You were signing something, agreeing to these stipulations. It was basically a version of a contract. Yeah. So basically, let's just rip the Band-Aid off and get to where we know where it's going to be. We're already starting revenue sharing next year. So let's just go and rip the Band-Aid off, man. Why do we have to play all these little, games and see what each stage is? Let's just go ahead and get there and call it what it is. Pay for play.
Pay for play. It's the NCAA is a professional league for, all of those particular sports. And I think it's going to move more into that. I think, some of the unintended consequences may be that, guys have more freedom in what they can do as far as athletes. So if you're not signing that, what comes in place of that? Is it they talked about some financial aid agreements. They talked about, scholarship agreements. Are some of these NIL contracts going to be baked into some of these agreements that people sign with schools? And how does that, is the revenue share piece of it included in whatever contract or agreement that these schools have these kids sign? And is it something that's standard across the board? Or if I go to Alabama, I got one set of rules and parameters in my contract. And if I go to Florida, I got another set of rules and parameters in my contract. So it's going to be interesting to see how this kind of shakes out because, like you said, now the Band-Aid is off. We see the wounds, we see the scars, we see what's really going on. So how soon are we going to get to what kind of this really is which is a professional league, semi-pro, whatever you want to call it, that's affiliated with a university? How we're going to get to that? Because I think, now with the revenue share, it's going to eventually get to the point where student athletes are unionizing. Then they're considered employees. And then they have real working contracts and agreements with these institutions of people who are employing them for their services. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this affects all of that. I think it'll affect recruiting as well. Because if it's something that's not binding, dude can change his mind at the last minute, be like, you know what, I committed to so and so, but no, I'm going here now. So where does the
NCAA come in with that, right? So how does the NCAA? How can the NCAA enforce these contracts not being a law enforcement or a legal entity, right? This is something that all the universities. This is basically a club. All of the universities have agreed to be a part of. Yep. And they've appointed leadership to basically run it. So how do you do that? How do they oversee these contracts, right? That will, when disputes occur, will eventually involve lawyers and all that. So how does the NCAA A still exist, and B, how do they maintain control over the new model? I don't really see a way that they can.
Yeah, it's that their control has been slowly but surely dwindling over what they can do and what they can regulate. And I think, it's going to be one of them things where these, like I said, these contracts are going to become more professionalized, where you sign a contract and your contract is with, that particular institution or employer, but it has certain stipulations in it that, like if you break it, then you're going to have to hire yourself a lawyer. Or the university is going, what I'm saying? So it's going to add some extra things to it where people are going to have extra representation as far as, agents or legal people to look over these documents and know what they're signing. And it's going to add an extra level of just if everything doesn't come together and be under one umbrella. So you think like in the NBA, it's everybody has like a standard kind of template of contracts that they sign, and there may be some tweaks with it, but you're working with your agent, you're working with your legal people, you have people that you're working with that are able to go over those terms with you and help you understand that. So from school to school, to conference, it could be totally different contracts that you're looking at, that you're going to need to hire people to be able to inform you on those decisions and those terms of those contracts. So it just adds another layer of, this is becoming more professional than anything else. When I got agents, I got a marketing team, I got my NIL team, I got my legal consultants, so like, what is this?
Yeah.
So I think it's just pushing it more and more to that side of things where it's going to be like, okay, let's call this what it is, man. This is professional sports, and let's really lean into that in a way that just rips the whole Band-Aid off of the whole farce this has been the NCAA for a long time.
And so will the scholarships remain year to year? Or if a kid signs for 2 years and he wants to leave after the first year, how does that conflict with the NCAA new rules saying that they can transfer whenever they want, right? Like all of these things come into play now because you're, contractually obligated or binded to these universities now once they start paying you. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic to see where this goes.
Yeah.
Goes forward. So
I would love to see a kind of a mock contract of what that substitution for the NIL would look like. What type of terms? I'm sure they have discussed that at the higher administration level, and they have some thoughts and parameters on how that probably is going to form. And it may look very similar to the NIL, but just packaged in a different way. So I'll be interested to see how that kind of shakes out. But like you said, it causes a lot of different unanswered questions that you have and concerns that you'll need to figure out for everybody. Now that we're just opening up the floodgates for people to do what they want to do. Athletes can transfer the portal, no more contract signing. There's going to be something else, financial aid agreement, maybe name, image, and likeness agreement. If it's revenue share agreement.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting. So talking about revenue share and moving forward with that, like, what do you think will be the impacts of not only, some of our revenue generating sports in NCAA, like football, basketball, and, hockey and some other sports, gymnastics maybe, and things like that at some of these institutions and that are big. And you're talking about the women's volleyball in Nebraska, revenue generating with all the stuff that they do. How do you think this revenue share will affect non-revenue generating sports in the college landscape?
Either they're going to cease to exist, or these Big Ten and ACC and SEC networks are going to have to start showing more more non-revenue sports events moving forward, so they can get the visibility and get the viewership and build popularity, so more people can buy tickets, because they're going to have to find a way to generate revenue for non-revenue sports, or they're not going to exist anymore. That's just the like we spoke about before. They'll probably end up being club sports. You know what I mean? Because unless you're going to be, I don't want to say altruistic, but if you're going to be just that great of a university to where we're going to continue to pay, we're going to pay all the athletes, even the ones that don't make money, because they're students here, they're student athletes here, then you're going to have to. That scale is going to look pretty weird, right? If you have the guy that plays the starting quarterback on the football team making millions, and then the last person at the end of the bench on the smallest non-revenue sport getting little to nothing. Like, I think in order to avoid that headache, most universities are just going to cut those sports or make them club sports, so they don't have to deal with that headache of that financial number crunching to figure out how we're going to do this, right? It's easy to just in the business models that we see in other arenas where they normally just cut those positions, right?
Yeah.
For major companies or major industries, hey, we don't want to pay these guys, and we don't really see the benefit of keeping them as part of our organizational structure. So we're not going to continue to pay them. We're just going to cut that position. So I think you're going to see. Hopefully you don't, but I think you will see something similar especially with smaller schools. You're going to see they're going to continue to cut non-revenue sports moving forward.
Yeah, you're going to see that, unfortunately. I don't know if it'll be at a grand scale early on, and you already saw that, at least, especially after COVID. You saw a little bit of shift of some athletic departments trying to downsize a little bit, maybe going from 26 sports to 22 and cutting some things. And so it's one of those things where it's going to have some effects on it. And these athletic directors and departments are going to have to make some tough decisions on, either, cutting sports, or how can we really, really, generate more revenue. And that's outside of, kind of the ticket sales and things that they're doing. I know at Michigan, this year has been the first year fully that we're instituting, to sell alcohol and stuff like that. So how does that affect your bottom line as far as revenue from your arenas and stuff like that? And can that be something that supplements it? How can you get more sponsorships? How can you, especially in the case of Michigan, you're talking about using student fees and things like that to help supplement some of these sports which we're not using now. So it's going to be interesting to see how they can either generate more money and revenue or cut sports. And it's going to be tough to cut sports because a lot of these athletic departments over the years, like we talked about before, have invested a lot in facilities and infrastructure for a lot of these sports. When you're talking about, you got rowing, you got lacrosse, you got all these people with their own nice new facilities that these athletic departments are still, footing the bill on. This is not like they paid cash and
right.
built the stadium. This is, money borrowed and financed. So it's still bills that are coming due for the next, however many years that you just can't walk away from. Okay, we still got this lacrosse facility, not, casting the aspersion on lacrosse, but just using them for an example. And we're going to cut that sport and make it a club. No, it's going to be some tough decisions that need to be made to continue this. Because when you think about revenue share, you can share up to what, $22 million. So an athletic department like Michigan would probably, football probably gets 70 to 75% of that 22. And then you got another 10% maybe for basketball. So you're left with probably 10 to 15% for
20 something other sports.
27 other sports. How does that pot get divvied up, and everybody feel comfortable about how it's going? But I know coaches are leery of it. I'm sure if I'm a coach of one of them sports, I'm a little leery of how it's going to affect me and my program, my team, my staff, and how this whole thing's going to look moving forward. I think this is, like you say, it's one of those access points where it's like it's going to shift to something that we are, unfamiliar with. So
they don't know seats at the football game gonna be $150 to go see to go watch them play FCS East.
plus a student fee, plus a preferred seat donation, plus a tie. They're gonna take all the collection plate. Yeah, they're gonna be rotating the collection plate around the big house to try to figure out how to make some more dough. But it's wild. It's gonna be interesting.
Prices go skyrocket, jersey sales go up, all of this stuff. Like they're I think that's one thing people have been clamoring for generations. These guys should be getting paid. These guys, well, where you think that money is gonna come from? The money is not gonna come from it's gonna come from the university, but it's gonna come from us via the university, because they're just going to pass that cost off onto the consumer, like most businesses do.
Yeah. Cost rise, inflation, you get your tariffs that you get, it's going to be passed on to the consumer in some type of way, and that's what it is. And when you think about it, like most of these, the backbone of athletic departments are the football programs. They generate the revenue to support all of these things. So that's the underlying thing, is that if most of the revenue that football generates goes to football, then it's not a lot more money to go around to support these. Like, they are the engine of athletic departments. So if they come in and say, no, I want 70% of football related revenue, and we want all of that football related revenue and to go to football, then that's going to be an issue if, for some reason, or I see it coming down the line that these kids unionize and they, make demands of how much of the population
we be paying for all these other sports. What I mean?
If I'm a football, but why are we subsidizing so-and-so when that can be in my pocket? So if that ever comes to play where they unionize and they make some demands, that's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out. So it's one of those things now, they got to get ahead of this before it comes to the point where it's a situation like that where you got, I don't know if student athletes will have the gumption to do it, sitting out games or whatever that is. You never want to see that because you love the sport so much and you love what it can do for everybody. But if they ever do, it's going to be interesting.
It's different when 32 teams boycott as compared to 100 or something in football and another what they got 300 in basketball. And so that's a lot of kids not participating. That's a lot of money being lost in those situations. So
for sure, man. We're moving on to the next topic, man. We're talking about, in the same realm of NCAA football, man. I don't know if you heard this company called Nilly. The Kendrick Perkins is supporting, man, is coming into the game, and there are, they have a different business model about how to help student athletes of offering them some upfront cash in exchange for a percentage of future name, image, and likeness.
Don't be reading that talk about help. Nah, go ahead.
The immediate financial support with upfront payments are ranging from $25,000 to several $100,000 depending on the athletes, and And this model is kind of, is basically giving them the opportunity to get money up front with this company.
Payday loan.
A payday loan, Nilly having exclusive rights to your name, image, and likeness earnings for up to 7 years. So this could be a situation where, the company is taking, 10% to up to 50% of the earnings during that period, depending on how much money you make. So what do you think are the impacts of this, man? And is this, predatory loan sharking, in your opinion, or is this something that really is like a benefit to somebody who's a student athlete and who needs their money right now? Instead of calling JG Wentworth, they'll call Nilly because I need my money now.
I think with any of these situations, like with him, it's a case by case. It can be a case by case thing, but just looking at it from a general perspective, man, that's like what? Like, come on, man. Like, you can't do that. Like, you're setting these kids. You're engaged in the same practices that people have been complaining about with, like, that professional athletes have been complaining about for generations now. Like, hey, I didn't have proper representation. I signed this, and later on, this is how, like, if I'm a parent and my kid is in that situation, there's no way I sign anything to give people my kids' rights and likeness, name, image, and likeness rights or whatever for 7 years.
For 7 years. That's wild.
For one time
for a one-time payment up front. That's well into your professional career or whatever it may be. It's wild. It's one of those situations where, like, how bad do you need that? How bad do you need that money up front? Do you need to pay for grandma's hip replacement? Like, what is it? Because if you've been broke for this long, be broke for a little bit longer. If you're a person who has NIL potential moving forward, then you can wait a little bit longer until those deals are where you need it to be.
If you've been broke for 20 years, you can be broke for 6 more months.
You can be broke for 6 more months. I don't need just $25,000 up front. What I'm buying with it? Like I said, am I fixing grandma hip, or am I going to go buy a chain or get the new Benz, trying to get a Cybertruck on lease or something like what am I doing with where I need that money right now? Unless I'm investing in some type of business that I need to get in right now, I need to put this 50 in because I'm gonna make tenfold this in this business. Like, why do I need it up front right now? When obviously
it's predatory lending, Chris.
It's predatory lending. When obviously, I got value. You wouldn't be giving me a deal if I didn't have, like, kind of some certain future NIL value. So if I had that, regardless, what do I need to take this $25,000 to $50,000 up front? Like, in the grand scheme, that's not a lot of money to sign over your likeness for 7 years. Yeah, I would have. I wouldn't advise anybody.
They get 25. They get up to 50% of your NIL earnings while you're on campus too. So how does that even add up to be, like, equal? Like, okay, I'm gonna give you 50,000 now, and then what if my NIL deal is like for $1 million? You get 50% of that for the 50,000 you gave me 2 months ago, 3 months ago. Now I know it, like, whatever they work out will be commensurate with what they think the kids' NIL value is.
Yeah,
NIL valuation is. But there's like I said, there's nothing as a parent. There's no amount of money that would allow you to get you. If I can see the potential if my child has that potential, if my son or daughter has that potential, there's no way I'm allowing someone to get their basically hooks in my kid for a one-time payment for the next 7 years minimum. Nah, man.
Yeah,
like you don't get those type of percentages if you're a full-fledged agent.
Yeah, no, you ain't getting 50% of nothing. So just hire you an agent, hire you a marketing company, and they get their normal proper percentages, whether it's 4% to, if they're really actually out there procuring deals, it might be up to 10 or 12% of a particular deal or whatever it is. But yeah, not something like what you need the money for. Like, I know a lot of people are struggling and it's a lot of things going on, but if your son or daughter has the NIL potential that they have to have for this company to give them a deal in the first place, they're not giving it to the bench rider in high school. And like, is it college athletes who are getting this? Is it high school?
Right.
Like who? Because if you're about to go to college, then you're gonna get your money pretty soon, right? If you sign a deal, whatever NIL or compensation is coming to you is coming because you're about to be actively in college. So is this predatory on like high school kids who like?
That's what it sounds like.
I'm trying to go to the prom and get this, I'm trying to get this watch and this whatever car I'm going to the prom. So I need money up front, or like, I don't understand what somebody would need it for at this point. I know a lot of people are, struggling to make bills and stuff like that. But I think it should be some better ways to do it than the loan sharking that looks like this is.
Like what other than the one-time payment, what else do you get from these guys? Do they now become your representation? Do they now because that's a lot of capital and a lot of resources that you have to give up later on down the line if you become who you expect to become or who you want to become, right? That's a lot of resources you have to give up to somebody because of a one-time payment when you were broke. It's not. If I'm a parent, I would be staying as far away as I can from people and entities that way, because they're hustling. They're hustling. That's nasty work right there. I don't know if I can. With that.
Nah, we good. We good. We gonna figure it out. We gonna figure it out some other way than that. Because like you said, I don't believe they help you procure deals or they set up deals for you. It's just really like, all right, we give you this money up front, and whatever you get, we get an extra amount of percentage off of that.
Man.
It doesn't look like they're like procuring or they're a company that's helping you get deals. It's like, all right, you're gonna get it, and we just, because I gave you this 50 racks, we're gonna get at least 125 back off of this 50.
7 years. That's like a credit company. They fall off after 7 years.
It's, I don't like it. Stay away from it, young people, man. Really get some representation to help you figure out what are other ways. If you're in dire need of funds in the present, I think is different ways to monetize yourself and get access to some funds that doesn't lock up your future like that for 7 years.
A real agent and a marketing team would be less than 20%. So
for sure,
total.
For sure.
Total. When you combine both of their percentages, it's gonna be less than 20%. So there's no need to sign with anybody that's gonna ask you for 20 to 50, up to 50% of your NIL deal once you get to college, and whatever you do as a pro after that for 5, 6, 7 years. So nah. Next topic, man. That make my skin crawl.
Made your stomach crawl, huh? Well, you know what we got to get into, man. You know who we are, man. Michigan football, man. Coming off a bye week, in a tough road loss that had a lot of different twists and turns, man. We got new quarterbacks, we got all type of stuff going on. Coming off this bye week, going into Champaign, man. What's your thoughts, your prognostications for Michigan basketball, particularly in this game, and then more broadly, kind of moving forward? How do you see this season playing out, man? What's going on with our Wolverines right now?
Man, coming off this bye week, after hopefully they got rested, they got the needed rest to finish the rest of the season. They got the time to study and be in the playbooks and focus on their next assignment. But I don't really see too much changing, over the course of the rest of the season, just because a lot of these guys are first-time starters. They'll get better and they'll play better in some instances, but they're still, like we talked about with Bronny James, with the time on task, right? This is them getting their time on task, right? And if they were elite, like generational type players at their positions, then you can expect a high level of success. You know what I mean? As first-time starters or whatever. But a lot of these guys are, Michigan has developed these guys, and they're still in the middle of their development. So, and this is the next phase of their development, starting and actually playing. So,
yeah,
I think for us to expect like leaps and bounds of improvement, I don't think we're going to see that. I think it'll be a steady, gradual improvement, and they'll be better at the end of the season than they were when they started the season. But it's not going to be there. We got better to the point we went. We're going to run the table and go 11-2, or we're going to, only game we'll win out and lose at Ohio State and finish the season 9-3. I don't really see that, but I do see. I hopefully we can see some improvement toward going into next year. And I hate to talk about next year with 6 games left or whatever.
Come on, man, we can't do that.
Nah, but I just need to see some improvement, man. I'm not really optimistic given the quarterback play.
Yeah,
like we had 2 quarterbacks that hadn't started in a while that didn't really play well, didn't get it done. Now we're bringing a 7th-year guy who supposedly beat those 2 guys out before he got hurt, and so now he's finally healthy now, getting his opportunity. So, I mean, we saw some good things, but we saw some bad things too. So we'll see. Now he's had 2 weeks to prepare for the game, so hopefully he looks a lot better. He's got his sea legs under him, so we'll see, man. I'm still on honeymoon from last year winning national championship. And B, I'm just taking it week to week now. So
yeah, we riding high, man. I mean, you can't expect us to be what we were last year, losing the amount of folks that we left. The turnover with the coaching staff, with players to the NFL. It's like, okay, you got to take this season for what it is. Like we're gonna root for this team, and I do think this team has a ceiling that they can still reach. But I do think the floor for the team is a little lower than what we expected coming into the season. I think the quarterback play, like you said, was a big part of that. But again, like you said, incorporating all of the new pieces and getting people into positions where they're relied upon as a starter, as a key contributor, I think is one of those things. And then it's, the coaching staff finding their footing too on how they want to coach this team. Understanding the talent they have on the roster and trying to maximize that talent. So for me, if it's gradual improvement, I would be very, very happy with it. I think our defense is still one that can contend with anybody. And then offensively, if we can get anything additionally out of that quarterback position, which it looked like you said, looks like he got a little something with him. As a 7th-year guy, you got to at least be a game manager enough where we can move that ball up the field and we can be a threat running and throwing the football at all levels as a 7th-year guy. So, hopefully we see that improvement over the next couple of weeks. And it's really starting to all kind of make sense now how the first part of the season went. If he really beat out everybody, right? And then got hurt. And then now you can see, well, okay, let's not go with Orgy. Let's go with Davis Warren because he's more similar to the guy that we really want to play.
Yep.
And Tuttle. And then Warren get out there and he throwing, 8 interceptions in 2 games. And it's like, damn, well, we need to go with Orgy. But to really maximize Orgy, we got to change what we kind of prepared as far as the package we run. So it's starting to make sense a little bit, without being in those walls of Schembechler and knowing exactly what's going on. And now you can see kind of how stuff has played out, at least with that quarterback position early. Yeah. So I'm interested to see, how it shakes out with him. Like he's shown signs of some really good stuff in that last game against Washington. So hopefully we can gradually get better.
I think quarterback play and secondary play are the 2 areas that we have to improve immensely over this 2-week break. Hopefully when we see them, they step on the field Saturday, those position groups are better because they've probably been I know a lot of people like to say, well, the receivers aren't this, or how do you know if the quarterback isn't throwing the ball that way?
They might be open. Right. And those windows are short. They you play against good competition. Ain't nobody gonna be running butt naked wide open all the time.
Right.
Well, yeah. You do get a step and he gets separation. The ball's got to be there on time and on target.
Yeah.
And you got to get somebody who could be able to do that. So, yeah. So we don't know.
Secondary, Zeke Berry, Makari Page, they've struggled the first half of the season.
Yeah. So, individually and just communication wise on covering up for each other, maybe knowing what coverage is and how to shift in the zone and all that stuff. biting on double moves and
young boy biting on Jair Hill. So those three guys, if they can, and they're all really talented guys. We've seen Makari play at a high level during the championship run. Zeke has been a quality depth guy over since he's been here. So I think we can expect, and they're all high level athletes as well. Now, like you said, without being inside those walls, how much they study, how much they prepare, how sharp they are applying what they've studied through the week. We don't really have that information. Hopefully, they're really good in that area too. So if they are, with 2 weeks to prepare, we should see market improvement. You know what I'm saying? Saturday at 3:30. So I'm excited as usual. You know what I mean? Every Saturday is a holiday this time of year.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't wait to see what they do. My prediction,
man. Like if I had to narrow you down to a overall record, forget the game tomorrow.
Okay.
Overall record for Michigan football at the end of the year. What's that record?
Let's go through the schedule and see what we got left.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what we got left.
Well, you got Illinois coming up. So what's your thoughts on that? You think we get it done in Champaign?
Their quarterback is better than ours.
Okay.
And like we know in college football, the team with the better quarterback normally wins. Right? In football, period. You know what I mean? If all things being equal, the team with the better, and I think the home field advantage will kind of even things out a little bit more. They also have until last week, they had a really respected defense, but they gave up 49 points to Purdue.
And 237 rushing yards.
Yeah, so there's a path to victory for Michigan for sure.
Okay.
But can we execute? That's with a lot of first-time starters on the road, hostile environment. History says no.
All right. So what we got? We got 6
Illinois,
games left. 6 games left. Illinois, Michigan State.
Yeah, Oregon
at home. Indiana, Northwestern, and that team down south.
1, 2. I say we go 6 games left. We go 4-2 or 3-3 to finish the season. So we go 4-2. That'll give us an 8-4 season.
8-4.
Yeah.
8-4 or 7-5 is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with this year. And it's just solely due to the tough schedule, having Texas, Oregon, Ohio State, at Illinois, some of those teams that, perennially we're normally better than are having good year. Indiana's really good this year.
Mm-hmm. And those games always be wild.
Yeah. And they're always a dogfight when they're not good. Exactly. You know what I mean? So they're good this year. So it's going to be, not a Big Ten goes, man. Those games are damn near toss-ups at this time of year because all these teams know each other so well. So then you have those 4 games, and then you have the 2 outliers with Oregon and Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we can get one of those games. I just think we're going to slip up and lose to in Indiana or in Illinois this weekend or Northwestern because we're looking ahead to Ohio State. You know how it goes with you're not quite. We got a lot of first-year starters, and you're not quite where you want to be experienced. And it's not just first-year starters, like you said, first-year head coach, first-year. He's not a first-year defensive coordinator, but he's a first-year defensive coordinator at the college level. You can see the adjustments that he's having to make and the struggles he's had as a first-time college DC. We got a first-time Power 5 play caller. He called plays at Old Dominion the last time he called plays. That's totally different than calling plays at Michigan in the Big Ten, right? So we have a lot of guys. This is their first tour of duty, so to speak, in the Michigan uniform and the Michigan headset. So that's tough to overcome when you got in these tough games. We have coaching staffs that's been together, players, rosters that have been together, or rosters that are more talented, right? Those things are hard to overcome as a first-year starter. So we'll see.
Yeah. I'm thinking 7-5.
7-5.
I think we go 3-3.
Okay.
Over the next 6 games. Looking at the schedule, 3-3. I agree with you. I think we're gonna get one of those big games, surprise somebody, but we're gonna slip up on something else that doesn't seem like we should lose it. But no, I mean you got to take it for what it is. Like it's a rebuilding year. You know, the best programs can reload. But unfortunately, I think for us looking at it, we're in a little bit of a rebuilding situation because all of the turnover that you had. But that's not to say that these guys can't shock the world and shock us all and go, 5-1 over the next 6 games. But if I had to put my money on it, if I had to bet it, if I had to get my parlay, whatever you might call it, it'll be a 7-5 season for us and go to the whatever bowl that is, the Dick Sporting Good Bowl or
the Alamo Bowl.
The Alamo Bowl or the Easy Bowl or the Jenga Bowl.
Music City Bowl.
Chick-fil-A Bowl.
Now we won't be in Chick-fil-A Bowl.
It won't be there.
Hey, so let me ask you a question. So at 7-5, after losing almost the whole coaching staff, 18 starters, is that considered a down year or a failure as the first year as head coach with Sharon Moore?
I wouldn't consider that a failure. I would consider it a down. I don't know how you define down. I would consider it a down year, right? I would consider it a failure. I think with everything you have to overcome and looking to see what you got on the roster now and how it all shakes out, I think that's a good, way to go about it and not be a failure. But it's a down year though. It'll be a down year.
I think it's actually a successful. I would stop short of saying it's a successful year, right? Because any other program, you lose 18 starters, the head coach leaves, he takes the DC with him, he takes basically the whole defensive coaching staff, the strength coach. And we know in college athletics, the strength coach is right under the head coach as far as importance to the team. He spends more time. He probably spends more time with the team than the head coach does. So all of these people starting quarterback, like I said, 18 starters gone, and still come back with a schedule that includes Texas, USC, Washington, Oregon, and Ohio State, and then the bottom feeders, as they're normally called, in other Indianas and the Illinois of the world. They're actually really good this year. Like that's to go 7-5 and then your starter gets hurt coming into the season, so you're playing musical chairs at quarterback the first 4 or 5 games, 6 games of the season. To go 7-5, you can kind of almost paint that as a success, right? But because it's Michigan football and expectations and standards we have and the standards they have internally and expectations we have externally, I'm pretty sure no one is going to say that. Nobody
say that. You won't admit that.
No.
Because you like you say, you have a standard of excellence that you want to continue to uphold. In the last 3 to 4 years have been just that, excellent. But
if you win 8 to 10 games with this team, I'm pretty sure they in the coach's office, they're in there.
No, they probably backflipping and everything. Because deep down as a coach, you know what you got. You never show your hand to the media or your players. And sometimes you can see that coaches don't even show their hand, tip their hand to their staff.
Yeah,
like they might be thinking one thing internally. And know one thing to be true, but you're not gonna tip your hand to show your staff. They're like, man, these dudes ain't.
You in the game, your offensive lineman has a grade of 0 the next day. You've had to coach around some tragic. Like
you know that, but you ain't coming into the coaches meeting like, you know what, guys, it's just we ain't got.
Sometimes like, you know what? Y'all did a hell of a job.
Y'all did a great job. This is the best coaching I've ever seen because I know this dude can't remember a play.
Because did you see him just blitz and watch a receiver run past him like somebody knowing nobody was behind him. Like, man, that's not like that's one thing I think Michigan fans we got to get out. We like to blame coaches a lot, right? Like just because I know Coach Martindale gets a lot of flack from the fan base.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at a lot of those plays where we're getting burned, it's a good play call. It's just one of the two guys. One guy is not doing his job. Like he's completely blowing his assignment, right?
Yeah, you're blowing an assignment.
And we know, like, we play basketball. We've had these conversations all the time where you get in the locker room and you look up and the team has 17 turnovers and you lost. And dudes looking at the box, well, I only had one or two. Like, okay, well, you had one, he had two, he had one, he had two, he had one, he had one. All of them add up to
all of them add up. Yeah. You say everybody can't have two turnovers or the play. Yeah, that's where you get 20 of them.
Exactly. That's not on the coach.
Yeah.
No,
but it is one of those things where it is, but it isn't. And you got to understand, like, so if it's a young team and you're trying to grow this team to where it needs to be, then some of those, mistakes are not by lack of the coach working on it or teaching it or, us going over it. It may be just the lack of reps, the lack of understanding or lack of experience. And, that's on the coach, but it's on the players as well. Sometimes I know people have been talking about, simplifying things for guys. But sometimes that's difficult. When you're trying to simplify things, it's simple for the opposing teams as well to figure out what you're doing. So
saying it out, Chris. That's just what I was about to say, bro.
Yeah, so you
can't keep it simple against Steve Sarkisian.
You can't keep. Yeah, and they're gonna cut you up. So you can't simplify it enough. Where you out there playing checkers and they playing chess.
Exactly. We've already done that on offense. I feel like.
Yeah.
Like our offense is so basic. Like we've dumbed it down enough. Right, like we ran the ball 32 straight times in the win last year. We've dumbed it down enough. Like we want to get to where we want to get to again under this new model of college football.
We got to up the level,
we
man.
Get the players that we want to get in this new model of college football. It's not just about winning. Like, sure, it's great. The fans is great. We went to Penn State and we won, but I guarantee you, the fact that we ran it 32 straight times is being used as a negative recruiting tool on the recruiting trail against the University of Michigan.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So that's why I'm with it. Man.
Yeah, you look at the receiving core, maybe that's why you don't have some of the athletes and talents back there that you think you maybe should or could have. But
exactly.
Yeah, I love it, man. Michigan football, man. So where we at, man? The last topic of the day. We got to do our youth basketball question of the day.
Basketball question.
Got to get into that. We talked about it a little bit, I would say, earlier in the show. We were talking about Bronny James and the difference between, guys who are workout warriors and the guys who can actually go out there and play. So the question for me is, man, how do you, when you are working out, say, a small group of kids, how do you make sure that you add in something that translates to the game and not just I got the bag work. I'm adding to my bag, but this is something that also contributes to how we're going to execute and plan the game from a team concept. How do you structure that? What things do you do to make sure that your guys are able to have translatable skills into the game and not just go out there and look good if I'm doing a one-on-one for social media? How do you do that? Let's talk a little bit about that.
I think for me and my workouts when I'm working out young kids, I try to make the last 30 minutes, 20, 30, maybe not 30, if it's an hour and a half workout, maybe the last 15, 20 minutes of the workout competition, right? So whether it's competition shooting or whether it's where we're doing driving lines, one-on-one drills, that way we can, if it's the competition shooting, we're putting to use the footwork and all the fundamentals of shooting that we've practiced throughout the workout, we're putting into a high-paced, high-speed competition-like drill that has consequences, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not just shooting to shoot. Like, okay, you have to make a certain amount in a certain amount of time. If you don't, there's sprints. And then for the bag work, as they like to call it now, we might play driving lines, or we'll play one-on-one from 2 or 3 different spots on the floor, real quick, real short, just to work on your game and not feel like we're out here for 30 minutes playing King of the Hill, right? We want to keep it short. We're going to have it's going to be limited to a certain amount of dribbles. That way we don't get into the 8, 9, 10 dribble combinations, because you and I both know if 1% of the basketball players in the world are going to be allowed to do that, right? So if there's 15 players on the basketball team, at the college level, you'll have 1 or 2 or 3 guys allowed to do that. And then at the pro level, it'll be 1 guy.
It'll be 1 guy.
Maybe 2.
And that's situationally at best.
Yeah, exactly.
You running action. You running that offense.
Exactly. So I want to put them in situations where we're competition shooting out of, like you said, out of actions or spot shooting competition wise, where there's a count, and then we're going to do a little driving lines. That way we can get some competition in. You can work on individual defense as well as your individual offense and the skill moves that you want to work on. So, I mean, that's for me. That's about in an hour and 15, hour and a half workout. That's kind of the things we go to get there.
Yeah. No, that's really good stuff, and that's stuff that I add to when I'm working kids out. And for me, I like to use kind of a chunk method, where it's like we're breaking down different things into different chunks. So we might start off basically with a footwork of something, and then we're adding, the counter to it, and then we're adding, the next counter to that. And then we rep that stuff, and then we may at the end of it, like you say, some competitive stuff. We're putting it in a small-sided game or a situation where, okay, if we're coming off the screen and setting up a screen in the footwork, then the last 15 minutes is going to be us working on that competitively, maybe 2-on-2. So I'm throwing the ball away, and now we work on our 2-man away screen action where we can work on all of these things that we've been working on leading up into the workout. So it's all competitive, even if it's your bag, where how to get separation and create separation, or how to attack and transition with pace and change the direction. So we're working on all those dribble moves and that footwork to begin the workout, the footwork, all of that stuff, the finishing moves. And then it's a live kind of short-sighted game, a situation where I'm putting you in that situation to be able to actively engage and figure out which footwork that we just worked on to use to be able to be creative and get to those things. So it's one of those things where you got to make sure that the stuff that you teach is translatable. I see a lot of this stuff on social media. It's really good. Kids are so super duper skilled with the footwork and the finishing and the changing of pace and direction and the snatches and the drags and the unders and the side steps. But, when you look at the game, those situations are, like I said, it's situational at best. Because most of the time you're going to be running whatever action it is. So it's not you going down there and creating the offense. The offense is going to create those opportunities by getting the defense to make mistakes out on the floor, other than you just breaking somebody down. Now we're playing off you. So that's the thing the kids got to, continue to learn how to play
basketball.
0.5, man. You playing off closeouts. You playing off catch and shoot. You playing off an advantage situation. I'm playing in tandem or in triples with screening and cutting action. I got to know how to read and react off of those actions and make the right reads and throw passes on time, on target, and cut hard and all of that stuff. So that's the stuff that really, as you go up levels and the defenses get better, and I can't just break down the dude consistently with my dribble moves. And even if I do, there's team defense and there's help behind it where I ain't going to make it all the way to the rim.
And a shot clock.
That's where you got to learn how to get better. So it's always a good thing, man, when you're doing this stuff, to make sure it's translatable. And the bag work that you're working on can be something that translates to real game situations. So that's been a fun thing for me to continue to curate, especially at this level. You're working with college guys, professional guys, but to bring it all the way down to the youth, where it could be just a simple pivot of creating space. And now we're going to, we worked on how to pivot, create space. Now we're going to put that in a situation where you can see, this is why I need to do this in a game situation when I catch balls on these particular sections of the court. So, message. That's
good stuff right there.
Yeah, we gonna clip this up and put it out. A message.
Yeah, that's great stuff right there. They need to hear that.
Need to hear that, man. But cool. I think, hey, that's our time for the day, man.
Yes, sir.
Another great show at the Rabbit Hole Podcast, man. So I want to thank my partner in crime, Daniel Horton. I am Chris Hunter, man. We will see you guys next time. Until next time, when we go deeper down the hole. Pause.
Whoa.
My man.
Yes, sir. Good show. That's a good one.